Oh, fault. We're just wishing Willie here a good afternoon. Well, it isn't quite evening yet. I think you were talking about socializing, right?
Yep.
Willie? This afternoon we're interviewing Willi Roeschli. Today is October the 17th, 1995. And we're recording this for the historic Cheesemaking Center in Monroe. And Dr. Bill Hine is going to video us. Right? And, Willie, where were you born?
I was born in a town, Langenthal, which means a long valley. And it is a long valley. The river starts way up in the mountains and comes down there and goes into the Aare then.
All right, now what?
It's near Bern.
Near Bern.
Yeah.
So you're a Berner.
Cisco on too.
Sure. All right. So then you went to school there in Switzerland.
Yep.
And when you reached the age to where you had to make a decision, to go to trade school or whatever it is, you went to what school did you go to then?
From there, I made my apprenticeship in a hardware store, and well, this was actually the reason for that was I had an uncle who owned a hardware store, and he didn't have any children, and to keep it in the family's name, I was supposed to take that over someday.
So you were going to school, as you call it, the bureau, to study administration, office work, business, and that was supposed to be what they wanted to do.
The way that worked over there is you worked in the store or place of business, and you went to school 1 day a week. You went to school, what do you call it here?
Where you work and you use the practical and theoretical knowledge, doing the actual work, and then going to school together. But that
everybody does that. Even a mechanic, a plumber, electrician. You all follow the same pattern. You work for a.
We call that a trade school over here.
Yeah, it is actually a trade school.
All the years, I think, is more sophisticated over there. It's more specialized. If I may be right.
That's correct.
All right, Willie. But then you were telling me that on this bureau, this office work, but you did acquire your apprenticeship, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't to your liking, right?
No, it wasn't. No.
You wanted to do what?
I wanted to work outside. I like to work with machinery. I like to be out in the fresh air.
So that you don't get much of that in the office as you get
No,
air
you do
conditioning,
not.
right?
No.
Okay. All right. So then, where did you go from there?
Then I started the next apprenticeship on a farm. I only had to. The deal was there, the understanding. You go 2 years. You work there 2 years, and then you go 2 years to school after that. So.
But 2 years you work on a farm.
Yeah, correct.
All right. Can we go into that a little bit here? Like really, like large farms, small farms?
No, it was I would say between 15 and 20 acres. We had 7-8 cows and 1 team of horses, no tractor. Well, it was in World War II anyway. If you had a tractor, you couldn't run it anyway. I think there was 2 tractors in town, and they were actually converted over to charcoal. They had a kettle on the side, almost like a water heater, where you put charcoal in it, and then a fan sucked the gas off in the carburetor, you know. And the trucks was also running that way.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of that in World War II there. I know in Japan and some of a lot of those industrialized countries, there were fuel due to shipping and whatever it is, transportation, they didn't get it. Okay, Willie, so now you're going to farm school. Now,
Yep,
maybe
yeah,
your
I went to
life is kind of changing here a little
Yep.
bit, and you learned how to milk cows, and
I had a little disagreement with my father, but then he finally agreed. Well, if you want to farm, I guess it's okay with me.
I was,
We agreed to it.
he was very understanding.
No.
All right, then you, so now you're a young man, and then you were telling me that you didn't really farm on your own any place, but
No.
you were in the milk hauler at one time, right?
I hold milk. We had a contract with the dairy. Then we hold the milk from one town to another town because there was no fuel. I used
And what type of transportation did you have then?
team of horses.
During World War II?
Yeah, during World War II, because the trucks wouldn't run. Couldn't run.
And you picked the milk up at the farms and...
No, the farmers brought it to a collecting point. No, and then it was loaded up on the wagon and brought to the town where they went by train to Zurich, where it was.
So you took the milk, you picked the milk up the horses from your rural area where it was a collecting point,
No,
and delivered it to the train station,
no,
and then they hauled it to, did you say Zurich?
Zurich, yeah.
Zurich,
Went to
which is
Zurich.
a major city,
Yeah.
and there it went into bottled milk. or
Yeah,
fluid
we
milk.
went into bottled milk. Well, it wasn't bottled them days. Them days, they still delivered it from house to house in a can. The woman went out and out to the street. Yeah, go out to the street, and she told the guy, "I want 1 liter, I want 2 liters, or 3 liters, whatever he wanted." He dipped it out the can into her container. That's the way it went since them days.
They brought the container to the cart, and
Yeah.
they turned around, and yeah, I saw that over there at my cousin's place there. They came and are we going here? Yes. I thought it was the quickest transaction I've ever saw, because the farmer brought the milk in and the promptly, the ones in the back, and poured it in the kettle and dipped it out in the beater. All right, then how did you get to America?
How did I get to America? Well, then I had to go in the army in 1943 till the war was over. I mean, not steady, but on and off, and I got World War II got over, and
What did you do in the army while we were here?
I was in the worst, what you call it, the infantry. Infantry, yeah.
The foot soldier.
The foot soldier, yeah.
The doggy, the
Yeah.
one that slung, walks in the mud. Yeah.
Walk, no. And
All right, then after the service.
so I started looking around, and we could only go to 2 countries, and we could only do 2 things. We could go to Holland, or we could go to Denmark. We could only work in a cheese factory or on a farm. And I decided I'm going to go to Denmark and work on a farm. Actually, my plans was not America at that time. I was supposed to come back that fall and go to school for another 6 months to get trained to go to Africa on a plantation. I had a job in Kenya lined up, and I was supposed to come back and go to school for 6 months for tropical. Is that what you call it?
Yes,
And but then that's when I ran into Paul Schlump
And Paul
in
Schlupp
Denmark.
is an
He worked, and I worked on the farm, and he worked in the cheese factory down the road. And,
where you were milking cows, you delivered the milk to this cheese factory where Paul worked.
I did not milk cows in Denmark. The operation up in Denmark was a little bigger than in Switzerland. They only milked about 30 cows, and they had one guy just milking the cows. And in Denmark, he was completely different than Switzerland. He was more than scheduled hours, like a factory. You did not work like in haymaking from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night.
The American farmer over here.
No, or in Switzerland too. You worked certain hours. You worked from 7 to 12 and 1 to 5. You had an hour off at noon. At 5 o'clock you were done. No matter if the job was done or not. I mean.
And what was your job then?
I was working in field work.
The field work. And then you met Paul.
We raised. They raised mainly sugar beets there.
Did they feed the pulp to the cows then?
Yeah, we had a long trench silo, and then the pulp. I mean, first you cut the leaves, on top. And I went in the bottom of the silo, and then you hold the beets to the factory. Then you got the pulp back, and you put that on top of the leaves, and then you cover it up with straw and dirt and keep it from breathing.
Trench silo.
A trench silo.
Yes. All right, and now back to Paul. So that's where you became familiar with Paul Schmidt.
Yeah.
Was a good friend of his father, was a good friend of my father.
Yeah, his father was a friend to your father?
Yeah.
He farmed over here someplace by Winslow? Or?
No, over by Southway, there's a Picatonica there.
I know, his dad was over here. Yeah.
All right, we'll keep going on there. All right, so now you're with Paul. Now we still got to get you over here.
Then he said, I'm going to go to the United States, and I'm just up here waiting for the visa, which at that time took about 2 years to get it, right after the war. And it wasn't very long before when I was there, maybe 3 months, he got his visa and he went back to Switzerland and went over here. But the last thing I told him, I said, if you happen to find somebody who would sign my papers, the papers for me, I would
sponsor you, they call it.
Sponsor me, yeah. I wouldn't mind to come over there too. Because I never actually liked school, and I didn't want to go back to school. But so
who ended up sponsoring you then?
A friend, says Harvey Schwenk from Polo, which was a friend he was a good friend to Finn Sling.
And Vince Link was running the Polo cheese factory.
Yeah, and Paul worked for him when he came over here. Finn Sling sponsored him, and then through him
And for the story, Vince Lincoln came from Switzerland, which our brother Oscar here, we interviewed here, his wife, his brother's sister-in-law. Anyhow, and Vince was quite an entrepreneur anyhow. He was kind of a good businessman and a good Swiss partier.
Yeah, he was a good partier. Well, matter of fact, I never forgot the night when I got to the United States the first night. I came by train from New York. I came by ship from the Queen Mary to New York, and then from New York to Chicago, which at that time still took 23 hours. And then it was bare ice. And Paul was going to pick me up, and he could not drive to Chicago. So I had a message when I got to Chicago. I heard my name, and I had a message to take the train to, I think it was Oregon, Illinois.
Yeah, it isn't too far from Polo.
And then at that time, Finns had this tavern on the Rock River. I forgot what.
I don't know. I was there. We yodeled there even. I even yodeled there with Vince.
Well, they do. So that's where I finished up the first night. And of course, I was tired. We was on the ship. We got in a storm, and everybody was seasick, and you didn't sleep too good. And then 23 hours from Chicago. First in New York. When I got to New York, driving through New York on a cab. A colored guy, it was cold. It was right after New Year's. That was first part of February. I left right after New Year's, so the end of January. This cab driver, he drove through New York, I thought anytime we're gonna crash. You know how they drive. Window rolled down. So he tried to tell me something, but I couldn't understand him. And then I got to the railroad depot and I finally found information is spelled the same way as in German. And I went there and there was a lady who talked German, high German, and she told me the trains were on strike. So, train couldn't go to Chicago. So maybe at 11 o'clock that night. Well, that one didn't go either. It took the next morning. I sit there in the depot, There was all kinds of characters trying to talk to me, but and then finally I did get hungry because the last meal we had on the ship was breakfast, and then of course there was the U.S. citizens. They went off the ship first, and then the tourists, and then the handful of immigrants. We were the last ones. We got off the ship about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And the Statue of Liberty lady didn't hand you a sandwich when you came by. The Statue of Liberty lady didn't hand you a sandwich when you came by.
No. Anyway, around 10 o'clock at night, I finally got hungry and I went to a restaurant, and they had the only thing I knew about what it could read on the menu was a steak, and which was at that time was $5. Was it $5? I used to work for $7.50 American dollars, or 30 francs a month, and I got to pay $5 for a meal. So anyway, I had my steak. I got my belly full, and then the next morning I got on the train to Chicago, and then Paul. Then I had to go to Oregon by train, and then they picked me up. They took me down the Landmark was the name of that place, Landmark, on the Rock River, and by Dixon. And of course, they had them guys had fun getting me full of whiskey. He didn't take much, and I
had that long trip.
Yeah, I was overtired and didn't take much, and I think they had what they wanted to. They got me drunk.
Well, you were here anyhow. You were
first night in the USA.
All right. Okay. So then Paul was running. What was he doing then? Working for Vince, or was he down in Chadwick?
No, he was working for Vince then. Yeah.
And then this fellow that sponsored you was the farmer.
Yeah, he was the farmer.
A good friend of Vince.
No.
And that's where then you had to go work on the farm.
I worked on the farm in Rock Falls, just out of Rock Falls.
What kind of work did you do there then?
About everything. I had to milk. We had cows, we had steers, we had hogs, and we had chickens.
That was quite a transition.
Two of us had to run the whole operation. Our boss, he just came out for fun. Once in a while, when he had a new tractor, a new machine, he came out. And first we couldn't touch it. He ran it himself. After a while, they got old, and we could.
Now, what year was this? 50?
51.
51.
No.
Okay. All right, so now the two of you are back together again, and then when did Paul go to that Chadwick then?
I would say about 52.
All right, now did you haul milk then for Vince?
No, I never hauled milk.
You didn't haul milk for Vince then?
No.
So you just worked on the farm for how long?
2 years.
2 years.
2
And
years,
then
yeah.
Paul
And then
Schlump,
Paul-
that we kept talking about,
Yeah.
was Paul Schlump. Went to Chadwick.
Yeah,
What kind of cheese was Paul making there at the time?
cheddar.
Cheddar. Okay. All right, then you went to work for Paul.
Well, I didn't really work for Paul. No, I worked for myself. I was self-employed. I just worked through.
Okay, you were a milk hauler.
Yeah,
Let me help you.
I
You
got
were a
paid.
milk hauler
My pay was taken out from the farmers.
You bought the milk out,
Yeah, I bought the milk out.
and that was canned out, right?
Canned out, yeah.
And how many cans did you have?
Oh, I don't remember. Do you remember how many went in the truck?
Well, was it a covered truck?
Yeah, it was a covered truck, double deck.
Double deck. Oh,
I didn't go on one load. I had about load and
70 to 90 cans.
something like that. Well, 66 on the bottom, I
Okay.
believe. And then,
And
and
20
then there
on
was,
top or something.
and then 2 more rows both sides of the saw.
Or two.
We're
in the ballpark.
I just remember then in the highest time then I picked up a few farmers, so I improved myself. Then I bought the second truck because with one truck I had to take all the cans off, set them on the side, put the second set on, and then went and got the second load and come back, do the same thing over. So then I bought my used second truck.
Then you had to get that milk in early because Paul made that cheese out of the same day. You didn't have holding tanks in those
No,
days.
no holding tank.
And of course,
7 days a week.
so he was really kind of pushing you.
Well, he wasn't pushing me, but
He said, get the milk
yeah.
in.
The sooner we got the milk in, the earlier he got done. Right?
Okay, then you always had the first farmers then that you went to, right?
Yeah.
And what was their attitudes?
The first one I hardly ever seen because he was all done when I got there, and I think he was eating breakfast when I got there, and so I very seldom seen him.
And the second one?
Well, the second one was a little different. He was he liked to party a little bit too, so he didn't get up too early. So I always had to help him finish up.
And what was the statement he made to you?
Why, he always told me, you don't have to wait for me. There's 4 or 5 more trucks going by here every day. He says, they'll pick it up.
I had to
later.
bring that out because I heard that same statement.
Oh,
If
did
you
you?
want to pick it up, there's 4
more trucks going by,
you know. And of course, everyone wanted to get done, and it didn't make any difference. And even the cheese factories years ago, there was the first group of farmers that got up early, and those that got up later. And it's always been something in the dairy industry. Okay, so then after hauling milk or down there, how long were you down there with Schloff?
3 years. And then and then I had back problems, which I already had in Switzerland.
And these cans weighed like what?
Pardon?
These cans weighed like 100 pounds?
100 pounds when they were for
And you drove the trucks, well, the 2 trucks, you hired men then too, right?
I hold, in the high time, I picked up 13,000 pounds of milk. And so my back was getting worse and worse, and I decided I'm going to have to hang it up. Quit.
All right, so now you really, okay, then what did you do from that? Then where did you go from there?
I was going to go, I had intentions to go to California. And then this Tony Zuger, he used to work in Chadwick, and and then he bought out the Walnut Cheese Company, and he moved down there, and he had excuse me, he had a bunch of old trucks and lots of problems, and he found out I was going to quit, and he came and asked me if I would do him a favor and help him out. As I said, I was never an office worker. I was always mechanical. So, well, I said, okay. He said, oh, maybe a month or 2 or 3 months. So I went down there and I was down there for 3 years.
And then you and Paul used to come up to Warren there, right?
Yeah, we used to come up to see your dad. Oh, well, he came up for a different reason. They died it. But we used to come to your dad's tavern.
Well, go ahead and say it already.
Pardon?
You can say it.
Oh, you can say it? Well,
Yeah.
Paul used to come and he had kind of an eye on your sister. That's why he wanted to come up.
And you came along for the ride.
I came for the ride.
We had a good time anyhow.
We had a good time up there, yeah. We always had a good time. Yeah.
All right, Willie, and then how long were you with Tony?
3 years.
Okay, then where did you go?
Then I came to Monroe.
Where all the Swiss are at.
Pardon?
Where all the Swiss are at. And
Yeah.
I suppose you felt kind of at home here a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And you worked for
Then I worked for Joe Cooney that time.
construction work.
Construction work. Well, I was actually, we had I said I always liked it. I used to, he had a little cat at that time when I started there. Then,
Did a little earth moving.
yeah, not much then. First when I started, and later on, we bought a backhoe and bought a new cat, and we had a couple dump trucks. And we used to go build banks and schools, and we did our own excavating that time.
Okay, then you went to Ready Mix, I guess.
And then, well, Joe Cooney, he got killed, and Joe Rask took over, and he went down on a smaller scale, and the time for a small contractor having his own equipment was a thing in the past, because either you were in the construction business, excavating business. You didn't pay for a house or a few houses you built.
Okay, but then for how long did you work for Ready Mix then?
For Ready Mix? Well, I was Ready Mix for 25 years.
And what was your kind of job there?
Well, same thing. Backhoe, traded, and machine cutter.
All right, now, Willie, I understand that with all this business and dairy and cheese factories and farming and whatever it is in Monroe, where do you live now?
I live in what used to be the Green County Center Cheese Factory.
So now you got a cheese factory.
Now I've
in
got a
Monroe.
cheese factory myself, but I don't make cheese.
How long have you been there?
82, 13 years.
All right, now I understand, is all the equipment still there?
No, there's no equipment. The only thing left is actually in the factory is the track over there, the overhead track, and there's the little room where they used to, the platform they used to take in the milk is still there, but the hall to the door is locked up, coming up. And then the room where they dump the milk, and then there's a little square pier where the separator must have been.
Okay, now what do you do with the cellar?
Pardon?
What do you do with the cellar? The cellar.
The cellar, well, I think the cellar is, if I want to be honest, is more or less for storage. Anything by boys, got motorcycles, bicycles, anything they don't want to store goes in there. One of my neighbors still got stuff in there, bicycles and motorcycles and lawnmowers.
Did you marry a Swiss girl then, did you, or
No, I did not. I married a German girl.
from Germany that emigrated to?
She was a friend. She was actually a friend to Tony Zucker's wife.
All right, well, back to the cheese factory, and we'll just kind of finish this up now. You still have some kind of parties out there, right? For, I wouldn't even call it a party, but...
Well, it is a party. We just talked to Gottlieb Brandley down here, and when I bought that place, Gottlieb came out and I kind of looked it over, and he looked at that what they call the packing room,
Box room.
and he said, you know, that would make a perfect party room. And we were talking about for quite a few years before we were always talking about having an August 1st party, you know, our Swiss National Independence Day, on what day it ever falls. You know, we go on Sunday after on the weekend we go to Noglaris, which is called the Volksfest, right?
And you've had this how long now? Yearly?
Yeah, this is the first I didn't have one because it was decided. Then we talked about first, and then they said they're going to be talking about 500-600 people. That's it.
You should have put an hour one in.
That's,
I didn't think
that's
it was going to
that's
be
not
that
good.
long. I was trying to, I could see it going. I didn't know the party was going to go this long. I was trying to.
Keep going, I'm running.
Oh,
But you're gonna finish it?
Sure.
yeah.
Are you?
Now we're on the party here.
In the party, yeah. There you go.
Well, tell how
Is
you
this
started
goddamn
it.
pause thing on? This son of a bitch, did I have to hit that son of a gun?
It'd be down for a while.
I just either bumped it now or else I don't have anything again.
There you go. Nothing's on.
Nothing's on.
Oh, what?
Somehow I must have bumped that gas damn pause button. You know that?
What? You turned it over, John. There's nothing on it. You're starting fresh.
Check the other side.
Did you turn it over?
Yeah.
Our Swiss National.
I must have bumped it.
No.
Yeah, but I had to, when I looked here, that pause was on. See? And I never used it anymore after that
Sunday
time or
after
two.
the weekend we go to Noglaris.
Finish.
It's called the Volksfest. And you've had this how long now?
Yeah, tell how many you've had and what you do and all that. Did you turn it over? now?
Fast forward, John, is what you're doing.
Yeah. Now,
You don't want to do that.
yeah, I want to turn it now, see, two. I'm all set.
Shine, you recorded on that other side.
No, this is the new one. I'll try
But
it.
you turned it over twice.
No, I'm here.
We'll try it for sure.
We'll try it. See, I bumped that goddamn thing and it threw me off.
Bumping it won't do it.
We're okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now we'll explore that a little. I wanted to get that in because I've read about it.
Sure.
Yeah, tell the year you started and
Yeah,
everything.
we'll get into it, okay. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Well, Willie, we ran out of tape.
Yep.
Okay, back to the cheese factory there.
Yep.
As long as we're had a little extra time here, when did you get married?
When did I get married? Oh gosh. 62.
And you had how many children?
3 sons.
3 sons.
Yeah.
Any of them in the cheese making business or dairy business or
Pardon?
any of those boys? in
No. They all kind of like me. They mechanical. One does the same thing as I was doing for ready mix and doing food, excavating business on his own now.
All right, now back to the cheese factory there. Now we got the box room, we have got the brandy opened over, and you made this kind of a party room, as we call it, or where you have socializing events, and you socialize or you have this event yearly. When did you start this yearly event there in August after the New Blair celebration, which is recognizing what, the Independence Day?
Yeah.
of Switzerland.
Yeah.
And that was 150 years ago this year, right?
No, that was 150 years.
750 years.
No, 791, 704. 150, that was Nugaris this year. That's Nugaris, Nugaris. Yeah.
But how many of these events have you had at your cheese factory?
Well, I started then I bought in 82, and the first one in 83. And then since the first year we didn't have one because I could not host 400 or 500 people.
Which were the
Which was up in Nugaris this year for the 150s.
Well, how many people do you use?
Oh, around 100, 70 to 100.
And you have dancing then and music?
Well, we already danced. We had music already. There were one time there was a band in Nugaris from Switzerland. They came down and played. I don't know, you probably maybe you was up there. Then Loser
Brothers?
Loser family band there. They played one year. And, the accordion club from Ham, which is by Zug. They were here one year. They came down.
So it's kind of more or less kind of a fraternity gathering of your Swiss friends, right?
Well, it was actually intended. We had intention for the Swiss singers, but it turned out all kinds of other people are found out and coming too, which is okay. We don't mind.
And how long have you been with the Swiss singers?
I started with him I think it was in 62 or 63. When they went from the Männerchor to the Knechtechor, that's when I started that.
What does that mean?
From the men's chorus, men
Mixed
only,
chorus to the mixed chorus.
to the mixed chorus, yeah. Of course, they didn't have enough members no more. Not enough men. They had to take the women in probably for more than one reason.
Socializing too? Well, you need a little higher tone there, right?
Yeah.
All right, Willie. Well, thanks. It's been an interesting afternoon, and maybe we can stop downstairs here, turn the hall, and do a little more fraternizing.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you much, huh? Dank
Kind of nice to bring up Paul Schlug and Dan Slink and all the old boys. Thank you again.
You're welcome.